Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zero Labs, and I hope this to be the first of many entertaining and informative broadcasts on my YouTube channel. Actually, on my live broadcast. My mic audio looks kind of low. What do you guys think? It looks like I could bump it up a little bit. I'm going to look to some chat from the chat room. Yeah, I'm not seeing. I am expecting a number of technical difficulties. Unlike Smart Scarecrow, let's see. Recording says yes. Bump it up a bit. All right. Input devices. I believe I'm way at the bottom here. Oh yeah. All right. Check 1 2 1 2 3. That should be a little better. Check 1 1 1 2 3. Hello test. 1 2. That looks better. So yeah, this is the first of what I hope to be many live broadcasts. We haven't heard from this next guest in quite some time. He, many of you know him as the arch nemesis of Sterling Allan. And I would like to right now introduce my guest this evening. But first, I have a small intro that I don't think Smart Scarecrow will mind me borrowing from him. So stand by just a moment here. Mark Dancy, welcome to the Zero Labs. How you doing tonight?
Do you want me to turn the video on, or
yeah,
what do you want to do?
I suppose at this point you can turn the video on.
I need to have a bath, as they call it here, which is get the scoop in a bucket and pour it over the head. I just rushed back from the gym, as you know, to come here, and then I have to ride my motorbike in searing heat into Manila. So I'm going well, mate. I'm going well. I missed our little banters and chats we used to have in when I was in the US.
Yeah, I missed that too. My audio is not so good here. I don't know why. You can hear me all right, right?
I can hear you crystal clear, sir.
Okay. So unlike Smart Scarecrow, who has about 4 or 5 different machines that he uses to put together his broadcasts on, let's see. I'm going to have to shift your colors. There we go. Now you have flesh tone skin.
I prefer being the unflesh, so I can fix the Darth image.
All right. So I'm trying to pull this off with one computer. 2 monitors and some free software. I wanted this live broadcast to take place using another free piece of software called Jitsi. Unfortunately, it looks like it might not quite be ready for prime time just yet.
It crashed.
Yeah. It crashed.
It's good though. It's got potential. It's a lot better than Skype.
It really has potential. It's very bandwidth friendly, and the picture quality, the video compression, the algorithm they're using is just amazing. So anyway, at the end of our broadcast session, I'll be watching the chat room as we go along for questions that are pertinent, but we'll try to leave some room at the end of the broadcast for some question and answer, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, one thing I want to remind you of, we both unhatched a plan, it must be 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago, and it's still number one on my bucket list, that you and I are going to travel around the world, go and test many of these claims, and have a great time doing it, just to try and get the bottom of the truth of a few things and see if we can find something interesting along the way. And I still got that as my number one on the bucket list. And I think we can pull it off in a couple of years' time. Within 2 years, I think we can pull it off.
Well, I wanted to kind of save that for the last.
Sorry. I'll shut up now.
Damn you.
I'll respond to you from now on, sir. Yes, master.
So, all right. Well, listen. You've had a few things going on in your life, and a lot of my audience has not heard from you in a long time. We both are proponents of alternative energies and skeptical of the scams as we should be, and a lot of the stuff that is going on, both good and bad, is being reported at a site called Revolution Green, at which you've become quite the prolific author. I almost have to think that you have a team of writers in the background that we don't know about, and so tell us about Revolution Green.
Well, actually, it's just a collaboration. Ken started the site just to have an alternative site reporting on not just normal, we report on wind and batteries and solar, but also the exotic technologies. And we just about getting to the truth. And Simon, who's on there, a commentator, he does a lot more work than I do. And most of the stories actually get sent to me. And sometimes I write an editorial, but most of the time lately I haven't had much time, so I might just cut and paste a story in there that I think would be interest. But I think the most important thing is we're I probably talked to 50 inventors and friends of mine around the world and working on things. And, we agree to disagree sometimes. So the most important thing is I really don't like it when people come along, make a claim, it's unsubstantiated, and fleece people for money. And that makes it good for legitimate inventors to get fundraising in the future, because people just see scam after scam after scam. Now, if something's interesting, like LNER research is fascinating and mainstream science is involved now, that's great. And I've seen some great technologies on my travels, people working on, from universities to backyard inventors. And, it's great. And they're legitimate, they're serious, they're learning. The ones I hate are the ones who do the big, exposés, give us money, and then run off. And some of them come honest eventually, but a lot end up in jail. So I guess the sites really, most of the stories come actually from the readers. They email me, and we cover a few points of interest there. So I try and keep it as simple as possible.
Okay. I want to address some comments from the chat room about my audio level. Guys, I'm doing the best I can. It looks like Skype is trying to lower my microphone audio as the broadcast goes on. I think I have that pretty much ironed out at this point. There was a checkbox that at one point did not work in the Skype software, where I could set it not to adjust my audio level, and apparently it looks like I've been able to get that done now. So just a quick straw poll from the chat room. How's my audio? Hey, the audio is better now, Z. Okay, good. All right. So with the advent of Revolution Green, you became involved with Revolution Green because you and I are interested in the same sort of things.
Yeah.
Very much. You've got your own things going on. You've got some things that you've been tinkering with. I know at one point you had a lab set up in Utah. You had a number of scientists working for you. You had some very interesting and very advanced research projects going on. Whatever became of things like the wafer battery cell, or I don't even
solid state.
Yes.
Yeah. what happened was, within that lab, I worked with some scientists. They were with our company, and others were sharing the lab and facilities. And different companies own different parts of technologies. And about, well, must be 2.5, 3 years ago, I decided to come over here and live in the Philippines. I've got a small lab set up here. I work with a few engineers still in America and a few scientists around the world. We just engaged another one in America. But with those technologies, the solid state, they haven't progressed. The difficulty is getting samples manufactured and trying to get more power out a given surface area. That's being revived next year. When I get some time, I've got a team I've pulled together, including one of the scientists, some of the scientists we worked with before, and I'll be pulling that team together, and we're getting the samples manufactured over in Asia. So we just want to it's either do or die. We've got 3 technologies. We've seen results that look promising, but we have to see if we can do something useful with it. So that will be in the future. In the meantime, and what started off as a small backyard project, the water flashlight, I think that's 2.5, 3 years ago now, it's turned into a very major project that involves many engineers, manufacturers, electrical engineers around the world. And of course, it's involving now a lot of money, well over $1 million so far. And unfortunately, when it goes from a backyard project to a mainstream paradigm shift that's going to be released worldwide in a range of products, a whole lot of other people get involved. And when that happens, it gets very complicated and very timely. Suddenly, you're dealing with all the regulations around the world. You're dealing with long lead-up times for tooling. And we had to make sure the technology was bulletproof, which we did, and still are. We also found out that manufacturers in distance, they do at least one product at a time. It's a whole product. So the good news is we're in the tooling stage. The bad news is you're not going to see anything in the shop till Christmas because it literally takes months to put together and ship and get through all the hoops you have to get it into the shops. But you'll be seen very soon. And the technology has advanced 10 since we had. I've got samples. I had a friend of mine in Australia. It's not a friend, he's a partner. He was in Australia and he says, I was using the flashlight last night. The horses were, 50 to 100 yards away and blinding them. It's working. It's tactical, man. It's tactical. So we've been able to go from a backyard project into a pretty professional product range. Unfortunately, I'm green at this. It's not that the technology and science isn't sound. It's just everything else is so complicated. Like learning how to do. I'm in Hong Kong every second week, learning how to deal with manufacturers, learning to deal with distributors worldwide, learning to deal with all the authorities you have to deal with and the different market areas.
The whole thing just sort of took on a life of its own.
Absolutely. And there's many, many other people in control. We've got scientists working. We just engaged to improve a certain aspect. The electronics, for instance, we've got 4 boards there now. The DC-DC converter in your normal flashlight or lantern you'd use is probably 70%, 60%. Ours is running at 83%. We had to develop software and technology to manage the cells because they're not like a dry cell, hey, it behaves like this. These things are organic virtually. They've got a life of their own. And just that process alone took 18 months. One of the world's leading engineers in this field and a lot of money. I don't know. I haven't seen the bill. It's in the hundreds of thousands. But that's all been put to bed now. So we had to put all the foundation pieces together. We had to put the science of the cathodes and the anodes to bed. We had to put the electronics to bed. Then we have to put the regulatory stuff to bed. Then we the science in LEDs. It's like going to university and trying to do 4 degrees simultaneously. I have a brilliant team in America, in Australia, Philippines, in China, in Hong Kong, and they're working together pretty cohesively. And the final point I'd like to make, anybody wants to venture on these things or put something in production, it sometimes takes 6 to 12 months to build relationships and good communication. It really does. Like in Asia, if they say yes, that doesn't mean yes as we understand that. That means yes, or I don't really understand what you're saying, but I'm going to say yes anyway.
Yeah.
or I'm not really committing to that, but I'm saying yes anyway. Once you learn that, then you're okay. So you've got to decide. Here's my advice. You've got to decide very, very, very early. Do you want a simple Kickstarter project, a little homebrew project? That's simple to do. That take you 3 to 6 months. Or if your technology, you have people coming in saying, we want that, which is what happened with this. We've got the NGOs in third world countries, we've got distributors in Europe, we've got agencies, we've got military, we've got marine, we've got everything you can imagine, interest in this industrial. When so many people get interest and see the potential, they take over the control of the process, and you have to just go along for the ride. And I think it takes 2 to 3 years for anything to really be able to go through the whole process when you involve so many people. So my advice is to people is decide straight away. A, do you want open source? Just give it away. B, license it, which I would do next time. If I had my life again, Zero, I'd just license my IP and everything.
Sure.
C,
sure.
Do a small project and do a Kickstarter, or just distribute to family and friends and do a website. Or D, do you want the full Monty? The full Monty, your life will be hell for 2 years. Okay?
And you can attest to that, right?
I worked, even last week I was in Hong Kong, I was working 20-hour days.
Ouch.
Day after day, working till 5 in the morning, then breakfast and shower, then go to the next meeting. And I work 7 days a week. But get a good team, make sure you got people you can trust, and make sure you get the best people you can find to give you advice, whether it's legal. And people get concerned about IP. You know, here's the thing with patents, okay? If it's a fundamental principle site, and get a patent, like the laser patent, it's a great one. But if it's a product, India doesn't recognise them. China's complaining India's stealing all their ideas now, and the world's got the violins out, and oh, we really feel sorry for you, China.
Yeah. Here's the world's smallest violin right here.
and the point is, you know, if you're going to challenge a patent, you need $10 million and a few years in court, okay? Best thing is to be first to market, best, and open the technology up. You know, welcome opposition, but don't release one little product at a time. Make sure you release a family of products. And I learned that from distributors. If you want something on the shelves, don't do one, do a family.
Right.
And the manufacturer, even in China, one of them we're using, and some manufacturers are in China we're using, they're saying, no, do not do this. Do the whole lot. Why? Well, they're going to rip us off here. They're going to copy us.
Well, that may be good advice now, right?
And it's going to happen in 3 months. Okay. What do you want us to do? Do this. So the best thing is to be the first and the best to market, and then have a continuous upgrade path. And what we did with our technology, we have got an upgrade path. So you can, as we improve certain components or anything else, we can give people an upgrade. So there's a bit of a monologue with that, but that sort of gives you an update of what I'm doing.
This whole thing, this whole thing started for you as a humanitarian project because you saw the potential of a water-powered flashlight to bring it into impoverished nations and areas where people were heating with kerosene lanterns and you know, kept burning their dwellings down, and
that's still the case. We're doing the Western market, but we're also being very benevolent. We've got a guy working full-time with the NGOs. We've had talks to people, Red Cross has seen it. We've got agencies. And the truth is there's 1.6 billion people enslaved to the fuel companies still, burning 70 billion litres.
Newsflash, we're all enslaved to the fuel companies. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. But in India alone, there's 1 million accidents, not deaths, but there are some deaths from fires, incidences with kerosene lighting. And over here in the Philippines, one reason I'm based here, you'll hear the roosters and the dogs. I'm in the jungle in a province, and the people are poor. A lot of people don't have electricity here. I'm going to a tribe located near a hydroelectric plant, and nobody's got electricity in the local vicinity except for a huge hydroelectric plant. But these people live in huts, and the kerosene costs them a lot of money, number one, or batteries. And the other thing I've learned, Zero, we often in the West, I'm not just saying the USA, in the West, we believe we know what these people need. But I've learned over here that I learn off these people is you really have to go and listen to these people. What do they really need, and how do you approach them about it so they can keep their integrity, their dignity? How do you break old traditions? How do you do everything? You need to listen, not impose what you think's best for them. You need to listen, and they'll tell you what's best for them and the way to go about it. So part of my job also is to integrate, and I'm heading up on Saturday with a jeepney full of rice and supplies, and my wife and I sponsor a lot of children to go to school. And I go and spend a day and I learn off these people, and they'll be my backyard testing ground, if you like.
Yeah.
And I see it every day. Like my daughter got stung by a jellyfish, and we're going across the ocean to the nearest hospital between the islands at 10 o'clock at night. And the guy's got a flashlight looking out for reefs, which is quite handy. You don't want to crash into one. And he'd only shine it for 10 seconds and turn it off. And I'm there, what are you doing that for? He says, I can't afford the batteries. And I thought, I wish I had one of my bloody flashlights here. I'd say, yeah, buddy, just leave it on. You leave it on for a month, if you like. And I see this every day. So part of my education of being here is not about the product development. Other people far better educated than I am handle electronics and the engineering and everything else. But I can help focus on what's integration, how do we best integrate this and help these people, and what's the best package and format and the best way to work with this. So I think anybody wants to save the world, go and mix it up with the third world. Go into the villages, go into where you want to benefit and learn. And so I'm not preaching to people, I'm just telling you my experience. That's all.
Yeah, and there's a lot you can learn from the people because of the way that they live. So a lot of these people have nothing, but they give everything, and they're so happy to do it. And in so doing, they become their own what's the word I'm looking for? Support for one another.
Yeah, they do. What I found
they live in
here
harmony.
Was they have humanity. I mean, life and death is in your face here. It's just regular every day. I'm not comparing countries and saying one's better, but what I found here, and my nephew, he's in Nepal at the moment, doing his own helping people in Nepal. What I found was here, he come over and says, Uncle Mark, I've learned something while I've been here, that you can have nothing but be happy. And these people are happy, you know.
Right.
They're jovial, they like music. You look at the world surveys, the Filipinos in the top 5, but they act as a true community. They do help each other, they do love each other. And then I go to Hong Kong, and these people, like Filipino time, if they say 9 o'clock, it might mean 10 o'clock. It might mean midday, actually. But you have to adjust, and Westerners have trouble adjusting. You know, we go, how can you live like that? The bus stops don't have bus stops. Where I live, there's no road signs, there's no letterbox numbers, because they don't have a postal service, and all of this stuff. And it takes a while for us to adjust. And people say, how did you adjust? And I said, I can never be a Filipino fully, but I can stop being a Westerner. And all the Westerners who still try to live like Westerners here end up going home or are very sad. Mm-hmm. But if you adapt to the culture and life you're living in, my daughter said, you're the happiest we've ever seen you in your whole life. And I can be pretty cranky sometimes. And they said, you're really happy. And I said, I am. And then I had to realise why. And this culture is infectious. But then I go back to Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong is a beautiful city. Best transport network I've ever seen in any city in the world. Clean, safe, perfect. They all live in little huts in high rises.
But highly developed.
Yeah. But I sit there and I look at the people on the street, and my stepdaughter noticed this too. She says, they're like robots. I said, yeah, they are. And I asked my colleagues in Hong Kong who I'm working with, the engineers, I said, why is everybody stressed here? And they said, we're under pressure. We're under pressure to be the best at education, to be best at music. We have to be best at our job or else. So everybody's lifting under the threat. They're living under constant threat and pressure. And you can see it in their faces on the street. Come here, everybody's smiling. They haven't got anything, but they're smiling. They tell you a funny story. There's always a joke. There's music and family gatherings, mate. oh God, I got this big family here. They're great. All I find here is laughter, and happiness. Is it a good, better place in America? No. Is it better than Australia? There's poverty, there's crime. You go to McDonald's here and you're greeted with a guy with a pump-action shotgun. You know, your parking lot attendant's got a pump-action shotgun. Every chemist shop's got a pump-action shotgun and a guard there. You go to the mall, you get searched. There is high crime rate because of poverty. But when you weigh up the balance, do I want to live in Hong Kong under this pressure, or do I want to live here? I want to live here. And like I said, I'm not saying anything's better than the other, but if we're going to help these people with their technology, with their fuels and all that, you know, once things take off here, like at the moment, I'll give you an example. Philippines is the most expensive electricity in Asia, third highest in the world.
Per capita,
solar's
right?
going nuts. Solar's going crazy now. There's this 21-year-old, okay, in 12 months, he's installed solar on malls everywhere, the world's biggest solar-powered mall. He's got 200 megawatts of rooftop and solar farms actually under construction now, and he did that in 12 months. I don't think you could do that, a 21-year-old in America.
Wow. Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing.
So I'll get off my lantern. Let's get on to exotic technologies, but
yeah,
that's an update.
First of all, can you speak at all to the family of products that are evolving around the flashlight, or is that still sort of under wraps?
Oh no, that's fine. Some will be released immediately, some will be released progressively. There's your normal little handheld flashlight. There'll be a bigger one that you can recharge your phone. There'll be camping lanterns that can you can have just a water-powered one, or you can have a hybrid that recharges a battery, so it's very bright all the time. They will recharge cell phones. We'll have marine lights, emergency lights, eventually industrial lights like your road slide, flashing stuff. Radios are very popular here. Nearly everyone's got a transistor radio like out of the 60s sitting in their house here. Small consumer products will be powered. The advantage we offer is no more conventional batteries like, you know, D cells and C cells and A cells. And one of our little power rods, or little pieces of metal, one that weighs, you know, 100 grams, about the size of a couple of AA's, will be very inexpensive, and that's equivalent to about 100 AA carbon batteries. And some of the products, a typical AA battery carbon cell is about 1 watt hour of storage. An alkaline is about 2. Don't believe the label. In reality, they're about 2. We're going to have between 100 and in some products up to 400 watt hours of storage.
Wow.
And then the end product, you can, well, I wouldn't drink it. It's got a bit of salt water in, but it's totally benign to the environment, totally safe. And the other cool thing is you can short one of these batteries out, cross the wires terminals for weeks. All that happens is when you do that, they just consume at a set rate. They never get hot. You can never get a short circuit. So that's what we're trying to bring. And we're trying to save third world money on kerosene. It's about 1/10 of the running cost. Save money for the Western world on batteries, but more importantly, the convenience. Like when you go hiking, rather than take 10 batteries with you, you just take one of our flashlights, and they're a lot lighter than a normal flashlight. Fill it up with water every day or whenever, if you don't want to carry the weight, and you'll be able to charge your phone from it. There'll be different models. It'll be water-powered only, and a bit more money. You'll be able to get one that can charge your phone. And you'll be able to go for 300-400 hours, you know, 200 hours depending on the model, just on one little rod. So I guess that's what it's about.
Someone in my chat room just says, now a flashlight that runs off of beer. that way you can shine your beer on what you will trip over.
But you can actually pour beer into these and it works. We've tried it. It also works on, I tried 7-Up. I haven't tried Coke. But you can be honest with you, if you had a Wii in it, it would really be bright.
That would be wasting beer.
But the other thing is convenience. Like I surveyed a lot of people, my friends, that said, go and count up all the flashlights. So they grab the one out the glove box and the one in the drawer and the one in the workshop. And I say, how many you got? And they'll say, 7. Now turn them all on. How many working? They go, damn, only 2. The batteries are flat on everything. This happens over and over because you think about it, your glove box of your car, you may not need that flashlight for 3 years, okay? And you go to use it and, damn, what's this mess? It's the battery's leaking. So this one, leave it in dry. You normally got a bottle of water or a drop of water. We don't need much water. A few lidfuls, pour it in, bang, you've got full power. 20 years' time, you'll have full power of that. So it's convenience, the storage, so that's all I can really say. I can't show you any, but they will be out. That took a lot longer. Sterling Allan attacks me all the time, and he is correct. I way underestimated the process, but to be honest, I never went through this process before, and I didn't realise that when you get into releasing products in the consumer world, there's a whole lot of rules and regulations and business layers and dealings that.
As an inventor, again, if you had to do it again, you'd probably go the licensing route.
I'd take the license. I tell you now, folks, what you do is
license and a royalty.
And what you do is make sure. This is my number one advice to anybody, because I've been ripped off and I've seen other inventors ripped off before. Okay, when you do a license, make sure you set up a company or a business that you control the IP. You have 51% share of that IP, okay? Then you license it out to other parties. But the most important thing is to have a performance agreement. One of the guys, one of the companies we're dealing with, they had a brilliant technology. It was not world-changing, but it was brilliant. It was up there. And they licensed it to somebody who then didn't do anything with it for 5 years because it's for their product range. So what you have to do is build in performance clauses that they have to do this or meet this milestone within this period of time. Otherwise, they can shut the technology down, and they will. And that's number one. And also, the other big issue you have here, there's a lot of people knock on your door and, I'm going to give you $1 million, I'm going to give you $1 billion, I'm going to do that. 99% of the people knock on the door haven't got the money, and they're just going to try and on-sell your technology and try and get rich off of it, okay? Make sure you do due diligence on who you're dealing with, and go and talk to the people they funded in the past. Because most so-called venture capitalists, I got another C word I'd like to use for them. Yep. They always want total control. They bully you out of it, and that it's just bad news. You have to work with parties that are friendly. In my case, I was very fortunate. I had some friends who worked in the banking industry, worked in other industries. They raised the capital pretty quickly. It's taken longer than what we thought, but all the investors are amazed we got as far as we did, as quick as we did, so they're not too worried. And they use, when you're using other people's money, it gets very complicated as well. So I'd stay clear of that. So I would license, but on two provisos. You always control the IP or own the IP. And secondly, make sure whoever you're dealing with, you build in performance clauses. You make sure that they are going to perform.
Right,
and
or you have an out.
Kick them out.
Yep.
And you can have different licenses. You can have development license. You can give it a manufacturer to say, well, here's the backyard prototype, or here's this proof of concept, and they'll take it away and fully develop in the product. Or you might have a more advanced one that just needs a bit of engineering, and you can do license for distribution, you can do geographical licenses, or you can do application licenses. For instance, if you've got a new power source, the trouble is if you try and license geographically, you might be dealing with a GE or a Siemens or somebody, and they're all over the world already. So how do you say you get Japan, you get Calcutta, you get Australia, you get the US? You're better off licensing your application saying you can do motor vehicles with this, or you can do home storage, or whatever the application is. You need to look at, rather than geographical, you need to look at application-based licensing. And is it a development license? Is it a distribution license? But my advice is don't try and become the businessman, because if you do, you're in for hell. You're absolutely in for, your life will go very bad time-wise.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm offloading all that. At the moment, I'm saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I've been saying that for 12 months, so everything's getting loaded out. So I can get back to my little lab here and work on the science. And that's why I said next year I'll be moving back into the research.
Okay. So what really turns you on nowadays?
I love what's happening in the world in the field of way solar's taken off without the government subsidies. Like in my home state in Australia, South Australia, they had a day recently, the whole state ran on solar and wind during the day. And they had a couple of fossil fuel generators. You know, they had to balance the grid a bit, but they were exporting that energy to the neighbouring state. And there's like 20 to 30% of all households in my home state now have PV solar, 60 or 70 have hot water, and 30 or 40%. So I'm getting excited that things are, even in the Philippines here, they plan to be 100% grid renewable energies within 10 years. And I'm seeing massive uptake over here, and China's going ballistic. They don't want smog from coal fire. So that excites me. But what's really exciting me the most now is what's happening with the battery technology, what's in the labs.
Yes.
It's got me excited. And you probably see by the article, I'm tracking 43 technologies at the moment. And I still get paid or asked to advise companies on which ones to look at and that. And what's coming out now, that the paradigm shift, as you know, if we can have for transport, if we can have a battery and it's going to cost no more to build that car than a normal fossil fuel car. So if the batteries are cheap and they can take you 1,000 miles, the game's over.
Right.
You know, the old petrol engine's gone.
Right.
And already in some countries like Norway, 20% of all new vehicle sales are now electric vehicles, which is amazing. And in China, I don't know how many millions of motorbikes are sold every year, but they're all electric. That excites me. And then, you know, you've got Tesla building his big factory. That's great. But the new technology that's coming out every week, you read of a new one, the new aluminium battery, I think MIT's got that. You're talking about a fraction of the cost and many times the storage capacity. And more importantly with this, you want the battery or capacity to last 5 or 10,000 cycles. And at the moment, they're a bit limited. They're limited to 2,000, 3,000. When they're at the 5, 10,000 level, it's for lifetime. And that's what excites me. And I'm seeing technology after technology. They're pouring $100 billion a year into battery research worldwide at the moment.
You reported on something. You reported on a battery technology recently at Revolution Green out at Stanford University that was a flexible pack battery with incredible storage energy density and recharge life cycle. That was that's the kind of thing, sir, that I would love you and I to go and evaluate and look. And
that's what we'll do. That's what I hope to do. That's the sort of stuff. I'm a bit past magnetic motors at the moment, but I'm happy to look at a new one. I've seen. I don't.
That's okay. I'm still working on one.
I know. So are most of my friends.
Yeah, I know. Jim Dunn is still working on his.
Guess what? Rather than count sheep at night to go to sleep, I'm designing magnetic motors too, so I'm as guilty as anybody else, okay? But, when it comes down to getting to the truth, it's all about measurement. And what I see 90% of the time, and I still go and measure stuff, most people are too scared to have me come along and evaluate something nowadays, but when I measure stuff or get experts to measure it, which is not what normally happens, I just see people have measured wrong or using the wrong instrument. They're using a normal multimeter to measure a pulse current or whatever, and they're just getting wrong readings, and they're just misleading. And the other thing I see quite often is what I call the battery effect. And the battery effect is if you're putting a big back pulse in the battery, you're actually changing that battery and how it performs. You're changing the surface area, you're changing the architecture of that battery. Right. And it can be very misleading. And I remember one I did in Africa, Sterling set it up for me. That one there, I said to them, you're going to kill your new battery in 6 weeks. All you're doing is this. And they threatened to put me in jail and the scientists in jail, and we left the country. And then a month later, they wrote me and said, you're dead right, you want to be an advisor to us. Not likely. I've seen it over and over and over again. So 80 or 90% are just people being deceived by something in the process or mismeasuring. But then there is that other small percentage that you know of and I know of that is straight scam artists. And They don't excite me. They just annoy the crap out of me. Uh,
Right, right.
I,
Um,
I'm for the development research. Don't get me wrong. I love all this happening. Just don't make a false claim and try and extract money for people based on a false claim. That's all. That's my only thing I don't like.
yeah, yeah. Is there anything in the way of these battery technologies that you really think are so groundbreaking that? Let me ask you this. All right. One of the things that I've always contended is that the real game changer would be the battery that somebody can put together in his garage. Is there anything like that
Yeah,
that you've
yeah. A
seen?
lot of yes, a lot of these. Funny thing is, as they go down the track, a lot of these technologies are getting simpler. Some are getting more complex with the surface treatments and high-tech industry, how they assemble them. But the reason I want to get back to what I told you about the solid-state generators, that's what we used to call them. I was trying to remember what we call them. Some of those are as basic as you can get, and could possibly have backyard applications. But here's my other issue with that. 1% of the population is skilled like you and have got the resources and know what they're doing. 99% aren't. But there will be some that, for the ones who want to do it themselves, yes, I think there's some technologies coming along that will do that. But there's not many. There's only a sprinkling. Most of these battery technologies you're seeing are simple, but they still require a high degree of sophistication.
Well, the problem with a lot of these is I think is that they are dependent on the very complex materials sciences that are required to fabricate the materials necessary to build these things. And I've contended for a long time that a lot of the big uh, the big outbreaks or the big advances in the technologies are going to be through the material science in the fabrication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys I work with in Utah were material scientists. They're the guys who got the keys to the car. That's a material scientist. And they're discovering so many things. Like, I'll give you an example. Graphene's gone from a very complex,
Right.
really, really, really difficult thing to make, where I haven't covered it, but I'll make a point of covering them. You can make it in your home workshop for next to nothing very quickly now.
Really?
They're the ones. Oh yeah, seriously. There's some very simple ways of making graphene now. I'm
Oh,
talking
dude, I need to learn a little more about that because that'd be something that I'd like to play with.
yeah. So graphene, they're finding more and more and more and more remarkable things about graphenes every day and finding more applications. It is sort of it's a miracle material in many ways, but it's gone from being, a sheet of that costs $1,000 and you have to get from a high-tech lab to you can make it up in your backyard. And you've got all the equipment you need, Zero, and you could be making it tomorrow. So I'll probably need to run it. They're the ones to answer your question. Making the materials, and then what you do with the materials is experimenter or what you combine them with is up to you. But graphene is definitely one of those technologies where you'll be able to build your own cells or fuel cells or whatever down the track just using your own resources in your backyard. The other thing that's enabling that is I've got three 3D printers. I should have said two 3D printers, but I've got three pieces, 3D printers, and they run 24/7 in my workshop. And the technology being developed around 3D printers now, you can just about build anything. They're making food, they're making skin, they're making metals, they're making all sorts of things. So I think what's going to happen is the 3D printer in another 3 or 4 years will evolve that a lot of these technologies, even some of the more sophisticated ones, you'll have the resources in your own backyard to be able to replicate them and produce them.
Yeah, I've just recently myself gotten into 3D printing, and I bought a 3D printer from a seller on eBay. Did a complete review of it from unboxing to building and troubleshooting and all of that, and the loading of the firmware. He enjoyed my video review so much that they're sending me one probably in about 3 or 4 days. That is their upgraded model for free if I would do another video review just like the last one. And I'm critical of these devices and all of the problems that I run into. Hopefully, they will have taken some of the advice that I've given them on the previous review and built that into the new model that they put out. So they've actually agreed to send me another one for free. I'll build it and I'll do another video review of it, and maybe offer one of the two as a prize for a contest of some sort. I mean, we should be coming close to the pulse motor build-off season soon, I would think.
I got kicked off as a judge as that, so that's okay.
You did?
I think I wasn't a judge last year, remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm fine. I was fine. I was pretty busy. Yeah, Sterling had a bit of influence on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I find is like 3D printers. We could have paid a lot of money, and I use companies that got ones that cost $250,000, and they have the same problems as their little ones. And there's some just very basic things I found. We run them. We've got Teflon tubes that go through the odd nozzle. You've got to unclog. The ones I got are very reliable, and they were really cheap. In fact, the engineer who works for me, I subcontracted her from a company. She maintains all my 3D printers. She actually strips them down and rebuilds them and services them. And the one we bought is a quarter of the price of the one their company was selling, and this one outperforms it. So there are some basics with 3D printers that you're better at it than I am. But, you want a heated bed, and you want to watch out for this, you want to watch out for that. But some of the cheaper ones are a lot better and more reliable than the big exotic ones.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, let's see. We're 45 minutes into the program here, and I'd like to open up the questions to the chat room. I think we've got about 20 viewers live, and of course, I am recording this, and we'll be publishing this interview to YouTube. Hopefully getting millions and millions of hits so that I can make lots and lots of money and retire and go jetting around the world with my friend Mark Dancy.
And Revolution Green covers its own costs. We're all volunteers with that one. And I saw poor old Peswicki. I looked at the charts. Their hits on that side have dramatically gone down. I'm not sure the reasons why, but dramatically gone down in recent times. They'd be struggling a bit with revenues. But you don't get rich on websites and YouTubes, do you?
No, you don't. No. I'll tell you what, though. If you get popular enough, I mean, you really have to be at the top levels in order to make a living off of it. But it does. It helps. It helps, yeah. It does. All right, so I'm starting to see a couple of questions.
Good.
Let's see. Has he evaluated that? They spell it GAIA 5 kilowatt.
Oh, go to Revolution Green. I got 6 articles on that. That is a scam. In fact,
is that the water powered 5 kilowatt generator thing?
Yeah, that's the guy at Roche thing. That one's a laugh a minute. In fact, last night I published an article. They put up the scientific explanation from it, that they giving their purchases of it, and they shared it with Sterling. It was a direct copy from an article back in 2004 out of a New Energy magazine of a patent from 1989 in Russia that had completely been, debunked because of all the miscalculations. Now, this one's a common sense thing. Can 150 watt input of bubbles from a compressor generate 5 kilowatts of lift? And the simple answer is no. They'd need to be pumping in hundreds of cubic feet per minute and need a column about 5 stories high to do that.
Right.
It's straight basic maths. The one what's interesting in this is, and what I find fascinating, is where's the hidden wire? And it's like the competition here is finding out, like Milo, remember, how did he get it to run? Use strings. Well, this one is, where's the hidden wire? This is beyond doubt. This is an absolute, and the contract you get to purchase it, here's the other red flag. They mention no performance. All you get is some classes, a dual course, and some parts. there is no mention that it actually outputs any energy. Okay, so if you go back, but it doesn't put 1 watt more than the input, it's not in your contract. You've got no claims against it.
Yeah.
They're just giving you a course and some parts to go and build a home project, science project. So very, very clever. But I think they could go the way of Brady, as he found out in Germany. He's in jail. Poor old Mr. John Rayner has just had the SEC appoint the receivers to his operation. There's a whole lot of others. A Magna Coaster. Has anybody got their Magna Coaster yet? That's about 6 years out. So this one, I've run about, go to Revolution Green, or even go and read the comments section on PezWiki. This one's been debunked. We'll go to overunity.com. There's 2 forums there. The one in German, you have to translate, is the best one. But even Stefan, who's a very open-minded guy on overunity.com, and he's been investigating these technologies a lot longer than I have, he's very sceptical of this. Very, very sceptical. And everybody I know literally has found that this is not possible, and all we're trying to figure out is how did they do the trick? It's like going to Vegas.
Right.
How did he do the trick? How did
Right.
Chris Angel do that? That's what this one's about.
Yeah.
Next question.
Seeing through the magician's tricks. So when do we see the flashlight on the end cap at Walmart?
End of the year. By the end of the year. I've said that for 2 years in a row.
Yes,
No,
you have.
seriously,
I've been waiting for mine.
seriously, should be November, but and here's the other thing is you're actually going to see it earlier. I can't really reveal, but it's been white labelled for other companies. So you might see it in a different format and promoted in different ways. That's all I'm allowed to say. So it's not just going to be the hot, whatever we're called in the market at Walmart. You're going to see it under other people's brands. You're going to even see it as products, but the technology will be inside that product. So We've done a bit of what they call white labelling.
All right.
Other people own the product. We've licensed the technology, but we developed the product for them.
I've seen a couple of questions in the chat room about buoyancy devices. I know you just did an article very recently on that buoyancy device that we saw. I guess it was in Germany.
Yeah,
I know Stefan actually went and looked at it when it was shown there.
Yeah, that's true. Look, honestly, there's some things that I'm very open-minded about. You and I did a buoyancy experiment once, remember?
Yeah.
It had the scientists confounded, it had the engineers confounded,
Absolutely.
had you and I confounded, and we're going, this should work. And then you did the experiment, and of course, I won't say I had egg on my face, but I felt like the biggest dumbass on the planet because when you did that experiment and went, duh.
Well, we did come up with the explanation of why it did not work.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what had us stumped, on paper, you couldn't fault it. And I put that to you, who I respect, that's why I put it to you. I put it to material scientists, I put it to a physicist, I put it to people who know a lot more than I do about mechanical engineering. Nobody could fault the concept. But when you built it, it didn't work. And then we went, aha, or you went, aha, and pointed out why we're all dumbasses.
Well, hey, you know what? This is how you learn. This is how you find out, what works.
Yeah, so next, getting back to that buoyancy, what's the next buoyancy question?
Let's see. No, that's pretty much it. Let's see. What is promising out there that Mark is looking into for efficient energy?
Well, be honest with you, solar panels are getting so damn cheap. I can buy them for 50 cents watt, which is really cheap.
Here's my concern about solar. All right, my concern is that the manufacturing processes, the cost of it is coming down, but my concern about these lower price point solar panels is that the lifespan of them will also be reduced. So and I'm hearing figures like efficiency reduction of maybe 5% a year, and if you accrue that over 20-25 years, you're replacing your solar panels every 20 to 25 years.
If you use thin film, I think there's concerns, definitely, but a lot of these cheaper ones are normal, well-proven 20, 25-year panels are still 80%. and the perovskite material ones, they'll be good for life. So I haven't got that concern with these new cheaper ones, but I did have when the thin film led the charge for the cheaper ones, yes, big question mark. But the ones that are getting cheaper now, they're just getting very, very good at the manufacturing engineering. The latest panels I've seen, I know it's a proven technology and materials they're using, and they're good for 20, 30 years. But the problem with solar, wind, everything else is you need storage. Getting a bit of feedback there, that's okay.
Sure, storage is key.
Storage. So where to me it's going to change, if you get the price of storage down to 50 cents, kilowatt, if they get to that level, they're already down to the, Musk thinks he's going to get down below $1.80. If they can battery storage costs, I'm not talking weight here, this is for home storage. And
right, who
storage.
cares about weight for home storage? You know, you just park it somewhere and
exactly.
Right.
If they can bring those costs down a bit further, then it will be madness to connect to the grid. You'd have to be crazy. It's already in many countries, it's cheaper to use solar than connect to the grid. That's the case in the Philippines. Where you come unstuck is where you need that energy at night later on. The cost of storage is very expensive, and that's the problem. So to me, the real efficiency has to be getting the efficiency of manufacturing so we can reduce the cost of storage for batteries or capacitors. And then, of course, for transport, it's a balance of weight and storage. And part of that cost factor is longevity. So if you've got something that's going to last you, 10,000 cycles, and you never have to replace it, then you can factor that in, and that reduces the cost as well. But I've got to tell you, it's in the labs now. Just go and read a few articles, not just mine. Just do battery technology breakthroughs. Search on Google. It's not just Stanford, it's MIT, it's everywhere. Like making massive, because 2 or 3 years ago they started pouring money into this, and I think within 2 or 3 years you'll be buying a battery pack electric car that will take you a minimum of 5 for less than you can buy a gasoline car, the same model. That's my prediction.
Okay.
And it will go 500 miles. You'll have cars that will take you 1,000 miles within a few years. Fast charging is a bit of a myth because, as you know, you need to have buzz bars about 2 inches thick to put that much charge.
Right. Yeah, man, thousands of amperes flowing through it just to get that instantaneous charge.
just stand back, man. We have to be within 20 feet. Why? Because the Tesla effect. You'll have lightning striking, and why we charge your car. Yeah. Why? Well, when you put so many, 1,000 amps at so many volts, anything within Kelly is going to have an effect. Not to mention the EMF spike.
Whatever happened to Aquion Energy?
They're still going.
Are they?
Yeah, they're going really well. They've just had another major funding boost, and they're in production. So, but they're at a price point where they're going to be Musk has already done better than them with his system, and he's being very cautious. But when he gets his supercell factory going, they're going to be halving. You watch that home system that Musk just released, or Tesla released, is going to be half the price. As soon as that factory's running, because I've seen the production costs they're estimating there, and it's scary. They're selling for $350 a kilowatt now. They're talking under 70 cents a kilowatt hour. $70 a kilowatt hour production costs. That's insane. So if they double that, it's going to be about half the price of what they are now. So Aquion is a very good system. I think they can get a lot cheaper, very reliable, very, very good, but only good for grid storage. It's takes a fair bit of space and volume. But they're powering on. They just had another round of funding. But I think you're going to see 2 or 3 major players emerging in the next 2 or 3 years. Hathaway Investments have invested in just as much size factory as Tesla has in China, and China's going gangbusters. I mean, I can buy a flashlight here, rechargeable, that you plug into your electricity here with a lead acid cell, everything for under $1. and storage is going to get cheap. And that's the breakthrough. At the moment, the only reason we're still connected to the grid is because the storage costs are too high. But if you're grid connected and put solar panels on, the ROI is under 4 years now.
Well, so, unfortunately, in the States here, if
you get taxed.
Well, if we cut away from the grid, we're going to be branded as terrorists.
No, you're also going to get taxed. They're going to bring in the sun tax. They're already taxing in some
states.
Right.
Yeah.
Solar panels. You got solar panels. You've got to pay tax.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You can't have anything for what they'll do with cars, of course. When you go to electric cars, they can't make their taxes out of gasoline. And
no, they'll have to charge by the mile.
You'll have a GPS and a tamper-proof GPS, and you'll be charged by the mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's coming.
Next question. I've only got a few more minutes, actually, because I have to get to an appointment in Manila.
Okay.
I ride a cycle over here. It's crazy. I've got to tell you a funny story here. I often wonder why, in most Asian countries, cities now, Hong Kong, well, not most, but like Hong Kong, the air's clean because they've got really good emission laws, and it's cleaned up in America quite a bit. And I come here and I'm there, why are all these jeepneys got dirty smoke belching out everywhere? And buses, yet they have the same emission laws. When you go to license or register your vehicle, you have to produce an emissions test from a registered, what do you call them, testing station, okay?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, how come all these ones are passing? I found out why. I did my motorcycle, and when they do the test, you turn your motor off. So everything passes.
What?
So when you're doing the emissions test, you don't have your motor running. So that way every vehicle passes. So what I'm saying is, in America, if you want your car re-registered license, you have to get emissions test. And what you do is you'll run your engine, and if it's making too much smoke, you won't get re-registered or re-licensed. Is that correct? Okay. Here, they do the same test, except when you're doing the test, you don't have your engine running. So they're testing the emissions from your exhaust pipe when your engine's not running. That's how you pass the test. Hello, I've lost you, Zero.
I have no words for that. I'm sorry. You just blew me away.
You get used to it. That's how it works over here sometimes.
Okay.
You get used to the system. I sit there gobsmacked going, you're kidding me. So there's clouds of black smoke, this vehicle rolls up, and when they're testing it, the engine's off. And he gets a clean bill of health. It works. He got his car re-registered.
Let's see. Gravity tax is next, then take up the ass tax. Take it up the ass tax. Philippines, what a country. All right. So I'm really not seeing much in the way of any intelligent questions. Mark Dancy, I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you spending the time with me. This has been, I think, a great interview. It's been a long time since we've seen you, and I look forward to seeing that flashlight on the end cap at Walmart, as well as.
It will get there, but hopefully, what I'll do after this, I'll share my experiences with everybody, and I'm going to write probably a small book or some articles on. If I had my time over again, what would I do? Like an advice book for inventors. Not a book, but something that, here's a guide of what not to do by all the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
And I think the thing, I give my advice freely to everybody, is the main thing is to, learn from other people's mistakes and learn and just be wise about it. Nothing simple. Okay? Just learn from other people. Don't repeat the same mistakes.
Awesome. Well, okay. Mark.
Sorry, I interrupted your wind-up.
Let's see. Yes, thanks, Mark. Will this become a monthly show?
You should do this at least once a month. I was hoping you're going to have guests every week, but that's a bit hard to organise.
Well, that's a little hard for me to pull off with my work schedule right now. I just recently changed the motor on an Altima, and that's my second motor change in less than a year, and that's that that's a little tough. The biggest problem that I ran into when I changed the motor, this last motor change, was that before the project was over, I ran out of beer.
Mate, there's some good people you could interview, like Jim Dunn. You know Jim, you've met him, and he's got some good stories. He's got some good stories.
Jim's a great guy. I got to hook up with him again. But most importantly, I have to collect my lobster dinner from Jim Dunn.
He owes me one too. But one thing you could do a program on, I'm happy to do it in 2 or 3 months whenever you want to do it. Some of the adventures and stories of evaluating these free energies boat is hilarious. Seriously, there's some really, really funny stories that are associated where you hit the eureka moment. Oh, we found the wire. and why some technologies still got promise, and perhaps why some are dead ends. Mm-hmm. That'd be another thing that'd be worthwhile discussing. We just talked about, catch up now.
Right.
That'd be good to do a couple of specialist programs.
Focus.
Say magnetic motors, and have 1 or 2 guests come on.
Well, listen, if you've got an idea for those programs, I'd certainly entertain them, and I'd love to do it.
I'll drop you a line. I know a couple of people who'd love to come on and discuss those things with you, who are great. Awesome. Anyway, mate, I do have to go.
Okay.
And it's been great as always.
Mark Dancy, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
See you, buddy. I have to go.
Bye. All right, and I have cut Mark Dancy free. So, as in the tradition of the Smart Scarecrow Show, I'm going to ask the audience, do you have any last questions to shoot at me? Any shots you want to take at me? I'll wait for some of the comments to show up in the chat room. We had about I want to say we probably had a peak of about 22 viewers live. So off to an okay start. I'd like to a lot of accolades. Thanks, guys. Great show, good show, great show. Glad I made it in time. Did 80 plus on the No, you shouldn't do 80 plus on the freeway to get to my show. Z has a shit-eating grin. Let's see. Z, when is your next broadcast? Probably tomorrow. Let's see. One more beer should push you over the edge, I think. Yeah, no, this is my last one. Is that the rocket in the background? No, it's warm enough where I don't need the rocket. Disney Joe says I need a schedule. What you hear running in the background is my cryptocurrency mining computer. I didn't get a chance to touch on that with Mark Dancy. One of the things that I wanted to ask him about was all of those Bitcoin mining computers that he had on the wall behind him, and some of the video releases that he put out for the products that he's developing. And a lot of people don't even realize that those were open frame Bitcoin miners that he had running on the wall. And he says, yeah, mate, you never saw the bill, the electric bill that went along with those mining computers. And it's, yes, I know all about that. But in case those of you who are wondering, cryptocurrency is still alive, and is still alive and well. I am still mining a cryptocurrency called Bitquark. It is a logical marriage between the Quark coin and Bitcoin, and it still shows promise. It's still around. It hasn't gone away, unlike a lot of the alternative cryptocurrency coins where some script kiddie will put together, some stupid idea for a cryptocurrency like the marijuana coin or the pot coin or the, I don't know. Some of the stuff that I've seen is just so ridiculous. And they'll release these coins and they'll cash in real quick, and then suddenly the coin just goes poof and vaporizes. and it's gone. But Bitquark has stuck around, and the developers are still working on ways to make the coin valuable. There are eBay-like auction sites that are coming up now, where you can buy and sell real goods using Bitquark directly. And of course, Bitquark is becoming accepted on more and more of the cryptocurrency exchanges, where you can exchange Bitquark and trade it or buy it using fiat currency. And that makes it a very valuable commodity. And I still have a great deal of faith in the cryptocurrency form of trade, because it is simply another way of exchanging the value of one's labor for another one's labor, where what you are qualified to do doesn't match what the other person is qualified to do. It's an extended form of bartering. So that's my little soapbox rant for the night. Let's see if I've got any more any more questions here. Oh, he's gone. Bitquark info. Does Dancy have a YouTube link? If I can find a reliable YouTube link for Mark Dancy, I will post it in the comments section below my YouTube video. I've seen it right by PayPal on the web. Excuse me. Value is in the eye of the beholder. The value... See, think about cultures that that don't have printing presses, okay? Think about, I don't know, Aborigine cultures where they saved the teeth of a boar that they slaughtered, okay? And they used the teeth as a means of currency to exchange between one another. Or another culture that uses seashells, or another culture that uses whatever, okay? Pebbles, you know, the shinier the pebble, the more value the pebble has. It doesn't matter what you use as a form of exchange, as long as it's commonly accepted. And that's what really makes a currency valuable. And what makes cryptocurrency more valuable is the fact that it is completely decentralized. The amount of currency in circulation, unlike the Federal Reserve note, which is a debt-based instrument, cryptocurrency, the amount of cryptocurrency in circulation cannot be controlled by one entity. It is controlled by all of us who use our computers to, I think mining is the wrong term for cryptocurrency. I think minting is a better term, because we're using the power of our computers to mint denominations of cryptocurrencies that can be traded between one another, and the trading process made secure by the back-end infrastructure of the cryptocurrency wallets. You can only like handing a dollar bill to somebody in exchange for a product or service. Okay, you hand that dollar bill to the person. You've worked hard to earn that dollar bill. The value of your work in that dollar bill is exchanged by you handing that person the dollar bill. And in exchange for the value of your labor that you put into making that dollar bill, you receive goods and services back in return. It's very simple. And the same process is true of cryptocurrency. All right. Some of us who have more expensive computing equipment, like myself, we are working to mint the cryptocurrency that goes into circulation that people can use to exchange the value of their labor for someone else's labor or someone else's services. And that's basically how the whole cryptocurrency world evolves. So, you know, that's it. All right, so enough of my rant. He does a website thingy, No Viggy, Pet Rock, Revolution Green. That's it. Okay, I'm not really seeing a whole lot in terms of questions. So thank you all for joining me. I really had a lot of fun doing this show. I'm amazed that I was able to work through some of the technical difficulties that I ran into using just a single computer, but I think I pulled it off pretty well. So thank you all for joining me. As always, please rate, share, comment, and subscribe my videos. And peace, everyone.